Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks very much for joining us. I'm Will Day Brosnan and I work in the school attendance policy team here in the department. I hope everyone had a restful Easter break and was able to take some time out of school. We are obviously this afternoon restarting our series of effective practice webinars, and we're joined today by Kelly Moore, who is the head teacher of Ormiston Meadows Academy. Kelly's going to be talking, as in the kind of previous series of webinars, about how her school has improved attendance, how she has developed a culture of excellent attendance within her school. And as usual, we'll be putting some questions to Kelly at the end of the session, so please submit those using the tab on the right hand side of your screen. We have one more webinar planned for the rest of this kind of phase of webinars, which is with the Bromley Trust Alternative Provision Academy on the 12th of May, so please sign up for that if you're interested. And we've also got a number of thematic webinars which we're planning, which will focus on different areas of attendance practice that should be helpful. So a kind of deep dive into some specific aspects of attendance practice, and we'll be advertising those over the next few weeks or so. So please look out for them and sign up if you're interested for those too. We've also uploaded all the previous videos for all of the previous sessions and webinars that we've run, and again the links should be available on the right hand side of your screen, so have a look at those and watch the videos if you're interested. And as ever, at the end of the webinar, if you can please submit some feedback for us to let us know what you thought of this session, that would be really appreciated. I think that is everything by way of introduction from me, so I'll hand over now to Kelly to talk about Ormiston Meadows. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Kelly Moore. I'm principal here at Ormiston Meadows Academy in Peterborough. Just to say, I'm here today to explain our journey in terms of improving our attendance. I don't necessarily have any magic overnight answers, but I'm going to talk you through the long-term journey that we've been through here at Ormiston Meadows, and give you some tips of things that we've done. Next slide, please. Okay, so our school context. So we're a one-form entry primary school in Peterborough with 182 pupils on roll, so we're not full. Our school deprivation indicator is in quintile 2, however, our pupil base is in quintile 4, so our children come from quite deprived backgrounds. We're part of Multi-Academy Trust, Ormiston Multi-Academy Trust. We also have a significantly high number of SEN pupils in school. Our school is a hub in our local authority for pupils with physical disabilities. So some of those pupils attend our school, and we also support those pupils in other schools across the city. Our context is changing over time, so we've got increasing levels of EAL pupils attending our school now, and we have got obviously a high proportion of pupil premium pupils. So that sort of gives you an idea of our school context that we're working with here. Next slide, please. So looking at our starting point, so I've gone back to 2016, where you can see there that our attendance was significantly lower than national outcomes. Pupils were not always engaged in meaningful learning. We had quite poor behaviour, resulting in a high level of fixed term exclusions, which obviously doesn't help attendance. The school needed a clear vision and to embed some clear values for the children to follow. Another issue I think we had at that time was that to make pupil positive links with parents. So parents weren't often invited into school. They didn't have that daily contact with school, and that wasn't parents then didn't speak positively of the school or want to come in because they didn't feel they could. We had an attendance lead officer in place then, but in terms of attendance, it was often seen that it was her responsibility solely to drive attendance, to monitor the attendance percentages, and it was seen that it was her job and not a whole school approach. We also had, as you can see there, our SEN pupils were significantly lower in terms of their attendance, and there was a significant gap between their attendance and our children without SEN. So that was something that also we needed to put high priority on when we were looking at improving our attendance. And then the final thing really was that, like I said about the attendance officer, it wasn't a whole staff responsibility. So if you spoke to teachers, teaching assistants, office staff, whoever it was, attendance wasn't seen at that point to be a whole staff responsibility. Next slide, please. So our journey. So I've sort of started here with our endpoint, with where we've managed to reach in 2019. So by autumn 2020, our attendance at school was above national average at 96.6%. Our PA of our pupils in autumn was the lowest 20% of schools with similar level of deprivation to us, which we were really proud of. And we significantly closed the gap, as you can see there, between our groups. So by autumn term, there wasn't any significant gaps with our groups of learners in school. I just wanted to put on there as well, because attendance obviously links directly to your attainment and outcomes. And so this was a whole school journey in lots of areas of school. So, but you can see there that we also significantly have improved in terms of our data. So our combined Key Stage 2 results there from 24 to 61%, which is a significant increase. Our phonics pass rate at that time was 93%. We reached 93%, and 79% of our pupils in EYFS were meeting goal. So the fact that the pupils were in school more to learn had a significant impact on their attainment and outcomes in all stages of the school. Next slide, please. So what did we do? There was lots of areas. Like I said, there were the quick fixes and the long-term things that we had to put in place. So the significant difference now is that our children love coming to school. So I would say the key is to embed that clear vision and values that pupils believe in, staff believe in, parents believe in, and it's that whole school community approach. In terms of improving attendance, this shouldn't be a one-person job. It's a holistic approach. We made it a shared responsibility for all. All staff should understand the importance of good attendance. They know the impact they're having on improving it. They should understand the data, so that should be shared with them regularly. They should know which children to look out for. If there's a significant gap with a group, they should understand that. So it's not just the leadership team or the attendance lead that should know that, everyone should. And it's about knowing the pupils, knowing their interests, and making the curriculum and the enrichment offer in school as engaging as possible to encourage them to come in. We put in place lots of times when parents could come into school and invite them into school as much as possible. So things such as sharing work, so just informal sessions where they could pop in, fairs. We put in place shared lunches, so things such as a Mother's Day lunch where the mums came into school, off curriculum days, celebration events. As much as we could, the parents were invited into school to share that with us. And we do invite our parents into every celebration assembly each week, which is where we celebrate attendance. So they then got that really clear understanding of what we were looking for in terms of good attendance and celebrated that with us. Attendance has been a high priority for the leadership team in terms of the academy development plan. So making sure that it is on there, that it's regularly monitored, and that you've got those aspirational targets in place that you're aiming for. And that way everybody knows what they are. We've still got a designated member of staff to lead on attendance. They are also the family liaison officer and the trained DSL in school. So they Wear the hats that mean that they can support those pupils on the ground. They can support the parents if they are finding it difficult to get their children into school, or their children have got issues that they need to talk about. So having all those roles together means that member of staff has got a really good understanding of the families and any support that they might need. She also then obviously has got strict procedures in place in terms of our attendance policy, the first day callbacks. We offer support to, for example, in the past have called homes to make sure children are up on time in the morning, make sure they're getting ready, speaking to the children, that personal approach. And even in some circumstances where children might be finding it difficult to come in school, we've been out and collected them as well and brought them in. So it's being really flexible with that and making sure that you know which families need which support. I'm lucky enough to work for a very supportive trust, and they offer regular support and guidance. We share good practice across our schools. And it also means, because attendance is on our ADP, it's a high priority, and the trust are rigorous in questioning the data, looking at the gaps to ensure nothing is missed. Whole school rewards. So I'm sure this is something lots of schools do. When we first started on our journey, we had many whole school rewards in place. Such as our weekly attendance award, and that's for our class that has the highest attendance that week. So the classes work as a team to make sure everyone are in each day, and they simply have 5 minutes extra playtime as their reward. But because they're doing it together, that really drives them to encourage each other to come in. We have houses in school, so all our children are in houses, and so a longer term reward we use is the House Attendance League. So the children there we share the house attendance percentages each Friday in our celebration assembly, and it's on a league table system, so children can see where their house is each week, and it's that longer term reward, so they get something like, we've done circus skills, play bus, that type of thing. So all the children in the house that win that reward get to join in that at the end of the school year. We have 100% attendance awards at our annual awards ceremony at the end of the year, where the children receive a special badge and a special certificate, so that they're really commended for their 100% attendance. And that's along with any extra rewards that individuals may need. So we recognise and we really closely monitor children that are falling close to PA or just falling into PA, and those are the children that we see every day for a reward. So they will come and see either myself or my attendance lead, and they'll have just a basic chart or stickers or something special, so that they can come and see us each day, and that again encourages them to come in. When we first started on our journey, we had lots of other rewards, such as everyone that had 100% attendance in a week went into a raffle prize, and we drew one of those out in assembly for each class each week. And we had attendance pencils for children that had the best attendance in the class each week. Lots of different things. But as we've moved over time, we found that we don't need all of the rewards. So we just do our weekly class reward, our yearly house attendance, and then just recognising those children for their 100% attendance. Back in, I think it was 2018, when we were analysing the data, we noticed that we had a gap that year with girls' attendance. So our girls' attendance was significantly lower than our whole school and the boys' attendance. So we looked even deeper into that, and it turned out that it was a group of girls actually in year 6 that were having some problems with coming into school. So that's when we thought of responsibilities we could give these children. So they weren't necessarily a job that needed doing, but the responsibility was made to feel very important, and those girls were given a very special job in that they went round the school in the morning with their clipboard and their class attendance sheet just to see who was in class each day. And they were called attendance monitors at the time. But that meant that they were in school each day because they had that responsibility and they felt that they needed to come in to do it. And we linked it to attendance because that was their issue. But that really helped to close that gap with the girls and the boys and the whole school attendance. So just small responsibilities to anything that will encourage those children to come in. We developed over time an exciting enrichment offer in school, inside and outside the school day. We've got a large offer on for the children, so that could be at lunchtime or after school. And again, we found, you know, if the children have got choir after school that they love to do, they come in that morning. I'm in school today because I've got choir, and that's sort of what's drawn them into school. We developed regular updates for parents to understand, help them understand what good attendance was. So when we started on this journey, we questioned parents about attendance and their understanding of it. And we were finding we were having comments such as, oh, 90%, that's really good attendance, isn't it? My child's 90%. No, it's not. And they didn't have that understanding of the percentage their child should be at, how many days the child had to have off to drop in the percentage, and what that meant for the child's learning, so how much learning time was lost. So we really worked hard on educating our parents in terms of that understanding of what good attendance is, and what a personal target, I suppose, for each child. And you can see on the slide there, we developed this sort of RAG rated ladder of attendance. So I've put a red and an amber on there, and there's a green one as well. And these are shared 3 times a year with parents so that they really understand where their child is sitting in terms of their attendance. So it gives them the percentage there. It tells them on there how many days they've had off, and it tells them how much learning time they've missed. And then when that's discussed with parents, there's a clear aim and a clear target given to them to say, so, you know, over the next term, we need to see Johnny coming into school this much, and his attendance will improve by this. So really having those in-depth conversations with parents and developing their understanding, we found that had a massive impact. And then it's just that personalised approach, like I was talking about before, in terms of the family support and the family liaison, being open to parents so that they can express any problems they're having with getting children into school. And I think that's more important now than ever after lockdowns and COVID. Children are more often having, you know, mental health wellbeing needs that need addressing. And those children, it might be, we've got some, for example, that just come in every day and have a chat with the family liaison or our pastoral worker to prepare them for the day and make them feel happy and relaxed, ready to go into the classroom. So it could be something as small as that, but it's having that really close contact with families as you go through, so you've got that understanding of any needs that they might have in terms of getting their children into school. Next slide, please. So as I said at the start, a significant gap we had was the attendance between SEN children and the children that weren't SEN in school. And I know that this is probably a common theme across lots of primary schools. So we had to have a look really at what we could do to support those families and work with those families with SEN to improve their attendance in particular. So sort of some things that we felt make the difference when we're working with families are that regular, really genuine communication. So not set timed meetings, not regular set meetings in the diary, just that really timely and flexible communication, making sure they're always aware of everything that's going on in school with their child, making sure they've got a really good understanding. And I suppose it brings it back round to that, really bringing the parents in and involving them in school. Know the child, know the parent is just about listening really carefully to parents' concerns. So when you're working obviously with families with SEN children, families can be quite worried about sending their child to school if they've got significant needs, like some of our pupils have with their physical disability, for example. And it's just ensuring all staff really understand the needs of those children. And that the parents recognise that all staff really understand the needs of their children and they can approach any of the members of staff. Not necessarily as a formal review, but just that, like I say, that open communication. Something small, any changes to staff, we communicate well. So, for example, we've got some children in school with high needs in terms of their autism. If their members of staff aren't in school that day, they would find it really difficult. So we make sure that if those members of staff aren't in for any reason, that we call those families as early as possible in the morning to ensure that they know that they're not in, who the child will have that day, who's going to greet them today, because it will be different to usual. And again, it's just that building that relationship with the parents so that they know that if there is anything that they need to know, they know it as soon as they possibly can. Be flexible. So obviously health appointments with SEN children, they have many of them. So these need to happen. Parents need to know that there's no additional pressure in terms of these, as they're already stressful times for the families, more often than not. And then choose your battles. So, for example, if the child with global delay or ASC has to wear a tutu and wellies to school that day, for the parent to get them into school, let them do that. They're in school, they're learning. Choose that battle. However, we have got another example though where I did choose the battle, I suppose, was that when one of my high needs children, who has got low attendance because of hospital appointments, booked a holiday, for example, a week before the summer, you would battle that because that's not needed. So that's what I sort of mean by choosing your battles with these families. And as you can see there, we have significantly closed the gap in terms of our SEN children. Their attendance in autumn 2020, we managed to reach 97%. So, like I say, it isn't anything specific, and in particular, it is just that really close communication and relationships with those families. Next slide, please. So I think the driver of improving attendance is that holistic approach and that whole school approach, all members of staff involved. So I just wanted to go through sort of the different levels, I suppose, and what improving attendance means at each of those levels. So obviously we'll start at the leadership level, so that's the trust and the senior leadership team. It needs to be, like I said, a clear priority on the academy development plan. We made sure that we had a high aspirational target, as you can see there on our website example. Leadership need to really interrogate data. So we really looked at the tracking of our attendance data, how often we looked at it, and how we interrogated it. So that was when we introduced our one-to-one sort of line manager meetings. So I meet regularly every week with the attendance lead, and we really interrogate just that weekly data. And so we can't miss anything because we're looking at it so regularly. As soon as a gap starts appearing, we find it. And I think it's important to say as well, when we're talking about interrogating data, to obviously remember to look at, you know, the size of the group. Is that group size worth looking at? If it's only 4 children, it's probably not a significant gap. Are there children that fall into more than one category of group? So if you've got a PA pupil that's in, or a group of PA pupils, I should say, that are SEN, PP and boys, is that why those groups are falling behind? So it's really important to really, we found, look deeply at that data, not on a surface level, and also look at those individual pupils. So when we have those weekly meetings, we every week look at the PA list. And what myself and the attendance lead do are look at the children that can get off that PA list, because there are some that by, for example, this time of the year, even if they come to school every day for the next term, they might not be able to get off the PA list if they're that far down in terms of their attendance percentages. However, there are others that if they come to school every day for the next term could get off it. So we look really carefully at those people on the cusp, both falling in and about to fall in. So that gives me a really good understanding of those children that I need to look for when I'm doing my daily walks around school. So then, like I said, each day when I walk around, I'll see those children that are in, and I praise them, and they might get a sticker, but they know that I'm looking out for if they're in school every day. Or, for example, if I'm on the playground in the morning or in the evening and the children have been to school, I'll make a comment to the parents, "Oh, it's lovely to see you today. Really nice to see you this morning." Just small things, but they know that you're monitoring them, and it makes them feel happy that you've noticed they're in school that day. So it's just that really clear understanding. Then in terms of the pastoral team in school, we worked hard on developing our pastoral team because, like I said before, lots of the children that required support with their attendance require pastoral support. So if it is that 5 minutes in the morning where they come and see the pastoral lead for a chat or a little activity before they go into class, or we've got some that go and see her before they go home so that they don't take any worries home with them that day and they feel ready to come back to school the next day. Those small things all make the difference in terms of improving the attendance. So really looking at the structure of that team and making sure that there's that support in school. Like I just said, SLT, especially the principal, especially the attendance lead, have a strong presence in our school so that you can always see them. We're always moving around, we're always talking to pupils, we're always on the playground every morning, every evening. So all I would say with that is know your children, know who you're looking out for. Making links with other schools. So we're lucky enough to be in a trust, like I said, so we make lots of links with the schools in the trust to get those ideas, to talk about the data, get ideas from them, share things together, and then just making sure you've got that clear information on your website. So I just put an example of our website there, but making sure everyone knows what that aspirational target is. Everyone in your school community knows what it is, knows why good attendance is important for the children, know your values, know your vision, and know that there are clear expectations in place in terms of attendance. Next slide, please. So sort of the whole staff level in terms of their responsibility. The attendance lead and SLT regularly update staff on those individuals when we look at our weekly attendance, or groups if it's a group, cause and concern. And that just means that staff can then encourage them in the classroom. If they're going for their weekly attendance, they can say, "Oh, Johnny, if you come in the next 3 days, we can win our attendance award," just for that really regular encouragement in the classroom. And now, because it is really embedded here, staff are really proactive in noticing themselves any patterns with pupils' attendance. So they'll come to me and say, oh, has that child been off? I think that child's been off a few Fridays now. Is that a theme? Or, those two children are often off at the same time. And then we can pick that up if it's something that we've missed in terms of SLT. So it works both ways. Class teachers, teaching assistants work as a team in their class. So those class attendance awards aren't just for the children. So the staff get involved. They get excited about winning those awards in assembly and getting their certificates and having their extra playtime as a class group. So it's about being involved as that class community. Then staff plan obviously to engage, to deliver engaging lessons, meeting the interests of the pupils. That's made a significant impact, I think, on the attendance here. The children are excited about their learning. And then the staff also plan their exciting enrichment opportunities, such as visits, clubs, lunchtime and after school clubs, to really encourage them and get them excited about attending school. And then teachers are in regular contact with parents. This might be through their class email accounts that the parents have access to, communicate with the class teachers, speaking on the door, or the in-depth conversations about attendance that the teachers have with the parents at parents' evening, when they really talk through those RAG rated letters, and talk through any help that they can give the parents. If it's something to do with learning, that the child's finding something in particular that's difficult, and just making sure those parents have a really good understanding as well. Next slide, please. And then I think it goes all the way down to the pupil level, and the pupils can have a significant impact on improving attendance. So all our pupils here at Ormiston Meadows work together as a team. We've built that a team approach in the community of respect, and we work together. And there's this really strong sense of belonging and belief in the school motto and values. And I do truly believe that that's what's had the most impact in terms of our attendance, is that we are a strong community and our children do feel that they belong here, and they've got that self-worth in themselves. Just some key responsibilities really that I think the pupils have had an impact with are that we have our head boy and our deputy head boy and girl, and our house captains in school, and those children, the children update our attendance each Friday in celebration assembly. So although I lead the assembly in terms of celebrating successes, it is the children that share the attendance information each week. And I feel that has an impact, so that because the other children see that as really important, because my house captain is telling me that my attendance is at this level and that they need us to get to the top of the attendance league. So I think that has a significant impact. Those children then update our weekly attendance board there that you can see, and all the children, that's in a space where all the children can see it. So they all know all the time what this attendance is in school, and those children with key responsibilities know what the attendance is in school at all times and can talk to children about that. We've got pupils that have responsibilities in school, so things such as the things you see there, school counsellors, we have lunchtime support workers, that type of thing. If they've got a key responsibility in school, we have an agreement in place. So this agreement is shared between myself and the pupil, and it's something they sign at the start of the year if they choose to take on a responsibility. And one of the points in that agreement is that they should always aim for their attendance to be higher than 95%. So I say that if the children want a responsibility, they must be in school and their attendance must be above 95%. And I found that that's had a significant impact. Last year, we had some children that were usually have been in PA, wanting to be house captains, for example. So I met them and said, that's great. You'll make a great house captain. One of those agreements is that you must have attendance higher than 95%. And that child, for the first time in quite a few years, had attendance over 96%, because he'd signed that agreement, he wanted that responsibility, and that really made a positive impact on his attendance percentages. Our children support each other. So our older children, like I said, have got roles supporting the younger children in that free time provision at break and lunchtime, ensuring that the children are happy and feel safe out there, because I think that's also an important part, that many children have difficulties at break, can have difficulties at break time and lunchtime. So that's sort of part of the provision we wanted to look at, to make sure that everyone feels happy and safe and they've got people to talk to. And a high proportion of our pupils do take part in enrichment at lunchtime. And we've got different provisions. So that pastoral support works all the way through the school day. So that's also available at lunchtime, which is what our Polar Bear Club is. They're an indoor lunchtime club for children that find it difficult to access the playground at lunchtime, have the opportunity to go to Polar Bear Club. And that's where my pastoral staff work at lunchtime. So if someone's finding it difficult, they can come in and speak with them there and then, and that problem is resolved. And again, I think that's a massive impact on attendance, so that problem doesn't dwell, doesn't grow, go home, and then the children don't come in the next day because they're worried about something. So it's nipping that in the bud as soon as there's that any issue, so that children feel happy and safe coming into school. Next slide, please. So just to finish off, the proof, I suppose, is in our pupils. So I spoke to a few of my Year 6 pupils just to say, well, what do you think good attendance is, and why do you think our attendance is so good at our school? I want to share this with everyone when I speak with you today. And this is just some of the things they said, which reiterate what I've spoken about this afternoon. So they talked about, attendance is important because if we're not in school, we can't learn anything. They love the competitions. They said children want to be at school. We tell our friends so that we can win. Lots of fun trips, which encourage children to come in. And then Daisy there in Year 6 said about the pastoral side of things. So friendly staff there to help if they need them and they've got a problem. So that's a very brief summary of what we've done here. I hope you found it useful, and thank you for listening. Excellent.
Thank you very much, Kelly. Yeah, really interesting actually, and the section on how you've kind of embedded that in the culture of the school and amongst the children at the school, I think is really interesting actually. So yeah, that's fantastic. Thank you. We've had a few questions in. I'll kick off with one about a kind of specific one actually about how you actually follow up with persistent absentees. Do you send letters to parents? Do you call them? Or for pupils that are at risk of persistent absence, what's the actual kind of approach that you take kind of directly to head that off? And do you have specific thresholds at which you actually will go out and speak to a parent or call a parent in for a meeting?
Okay, good. Yep, I can answer that. So in terms of those children falling into the PA bracket, we've got a set letter that we send out to parents then. And we often at that point have an informal meeting with a parent. So it's not a strict meeting, but it's just sort of that supportive meeting, I suppose, where we have a chat, talk about anything that's happening at home. Is there any reason why they're finding it difficult to get their child into school, and sort of set out a plan, I suppose, in terms of improving that attendance. And often we do sort of a half-termly check with that. So we give them a target and then for the half term say, oh, attend this many days up to then, and then we meet again. So and if that starts falling even more, then that's when we go into the formal process. In terms of the PAs, I think, like I said in the slides, it's just knowing that list of pupils. So we've obviously got the formal letters that go out if a child is a PA, and it's that really regular contact with those parents. So I myself speak to probably most of those parents weekly. Now, not formally in a meeting, but I will when I'm out on the playground. I'll talk to them how things at home, how things going, how is the child feeling about coming into school. I think it's with them, I think it's really just about making sure you've got that close monitoring on them all the time, making sure the teachers know who those children are in their class, you know, for that over exaggerated, oh, lovely to see you this morning, excellent to see you, you know, looking well, I'll see you tomorrow, we're doing this tomorrow, you know, and really just that daily, I suppose, encouragement to get them in. Does that answer the question, Will?
Yeah, no, I think it does. Yeah, thank you. And actually, just had two more questions that just come in about how about the rewards approach that you adopt in the school, and how you ensure that you kind of tread the line between incentivizing people coming in but not penalizing people that can't come in, for instance, because they've got some health condition which means that they can't, and how you kind of tread that balance between rewarding the right behaviour.
Yeah, that's a really good question. So this is so when we first started on the journey, like I said, we had many different rewards, and it's not about rewarding the 100% attendance, because like you say, there are some children that are never going to be 100% attendance. So we had various things. We had a highest attendance that week, but then we also had a most improved from the previous week. So I think I mentioned attendance pencils. We just had a box of attendance pencils, rulers, rubbers, that type of thing. And the child in the class that was most improved from the week before got a reward. So that sort of covered those children that maybe if it is an SEN child, for example, that the week before maybe was in hospital for 3 days, but this week has managed 100% attendance, it meant that we can keep rewarding those children as well. And like I said, those whole class attendance rewards mean that everyone are involved. However, there was a class of, I think it was a couple of years ago, that never were managing to win that, because they had a handful of children in there that often had lots of medical appointments. So we did over time look at their attendance without those children in, so it was fairer. So it's just about, I suppose, looking at those children, but most improved attendance is a really good way of focusing on those that might not ever have the highest attendance in the class that week.
That's helpful. Thank you, Kelly. Somebody is asking here about if you could say anything more about the Year 6 girls that you made attendance monitors, and what did they do, and the kind of specific role and responsibilities that you gave to them.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, so it wasn't a massive role that they did, and it wasn't necessarily one that needed doing in school, but it was something that we made to seem very important. So we called them attendance monitors, funnily enough. So what they did in the morning, they registered, they came down to myself and the attendance lead, got their clipboards, and they had just the class registers in, and they went into each class to see who wasn't attending that day. It didn't need doing, obviously, because we do the registers, but we made it their responsibility that they were tracking, the attendance of each class and looking at those children. And then at the end of the week, we'd get them in and say, oh, have you noticed anything about the attendance in Year 1? Are there any particular children that have been off more than others this week? And it just gave them that responsibility. And their parents did say to us that they were getting up in the morning saying, Mum, I've got to get to school, I've got to go and I've got my job to do this morning, I've got to go and get my clipboard. So it's not necessarily something that needed doing, it's just sort of creating something that makes them feel important, and made them, want to come in to do that.
Excellent, thank you. There's a question here which you haven't discussed it in the presentation, so I don't want to put you on the spot if there's nothing more to say about this, but somebody's asking about if you've got any experience of supporting children of Gypsy Roma background and supporting them and their families to regularly attend school, and what you might do in that situation.
We have had some Gypsy Roma children attend our school in the past. What I would say, again, it's that it was difficult. Their attendance was low. It was difficult to get them in. But again, it was just about understanding their families and the difficulties they had if they weren't in school. And really building that relationship with them. We found with those particular families, they really respected, you know, an everyday relationship with someone in school and having a contact. So my family liaison worked really closely with those families. So they'd call them in the morning if they're having an issue getting in, and my family liaison then would really encourage them to come in, give them strategies to help. You know, and it's similar to the SEN children. You have to be flexible. So if they need to go somewhere, if they need to do something, being flexible. If they need support, helping them, but also challenging them if you need to, and really tracking them carefully. But I do think with those families, it's just about that personalised support with one member of staff. I wouldn't say it needs to be lots of members of staff. They need to feel that they've got a good relationship with a member of staff in school that they can really talk to.
That's really, really helpful. Thank you. I'll do one or two more now. There's a question here sort of related, and I don't know if there's something specific you want to say about this, which is about consistent lateness and punctuality and how you prioritise that within the context of the school.
Yeah, so we have sort of individualised, I suppose, plans for pupils that have regular lateness in school. We have more formal meetings if it's an ongoing problem. We meet parents, we talk about what if there are any issues, you know, in the morning. We often find our school children, only 30% of our children come from our school catchment, so they're coming from all over the city. So often it's often just the problem that, you know, they've got quite far to come in, they can't get parked, you know, that type of thing, which we can help them with. So again, I think it's about having those meetings with parents, being strict on, you know, what time they need to come in, but also offering that helpful advice. And then we have a few at the moment that are often late, that we now have sort of a chart, basically a sticker chart, and when they're in school on time, first thing in the morning, they come straight down to the attendance lead, and she gives them the sticker if they're on time. So it's just about monitoring them really carefully, and offering that support. You know, it's things like, do they need to be able to get into the car park, for example? If they're finding it hard to park somewhere, let them come in the car park and have a space to park and drop their children off if it means they're going to be on time. Do they need to drop them off at the front entrance rather than their normal entrance if it means that they can get there quicker? It's just really breaking down what their problem is, I think, and putting something in place to help them.
Excellent, thank you. I think this will be the last question, and I'll tie together a couple, but hopefully not too many. And the question is about parents who don't value education, or at least, yeah, there's a culture of not valuing education, and related to that, if there are challenging conversations that you need to have with parents, and I suppose the kind of style of conversation that you would have in that context.
Yeah, I think again that sort of comes down to the ethos in the school. We've worked really hard on really driving aspirational learning, and children really having aspirational targets of, you know, what they want to do when they leave school, and that sort of long-term journey. So I think we found that as we've built that, because we did have this problem at the start of our journey, in that, you know, parents didn't think that if they didn't attend school for a couple of days, it didn't matter, they wouldn't miss out on anything. But as we've embedded that ethos and that aspiration in the children, we're finding that it's then them that are saying, oh, come on, Mum, I need to go to school, so I'm going to miss that lesson on fractions tomorrow, and I need to know what it is, and I want to do this when I'm older, and I'm aiming to do this. So I think it's about driving it from the bottom, so driving that and instilling that in the children. In terms of those difficult conversations, they have to be had. If the attendance is low, and if it's impacting their attainment and their progress, and I think it's just, again, making the parents aware of where their children should be, what their gaps are, so if they've got gaps in learning that then you can match to days they've missed in school, it's just making that really clear to parents what they're missing and what impact that's having on their child at the parent level, and just being really clear with them and really open and honest with them would be my advice with that.
Brilliant. Thank you very, very much. I think that's everything for questions now. And yeah, I think that was a really, really systematic, as I say, systematic look at the kind of culture of the school and how you've brought that about, and how attendance permeates every level of the way in which you run the school. So that was really helpful. Thank you. Just to say, to reiterate rather, as I said at the beginning, we've got Bromley Trust Alternative Provision Academy talking about how they've improved attendance at their school on the 12th of May. So please sign up for that if you're interested. And we will be shortly advertising, as I said at the beginning, a further set of kind of thematic webinars looking at very specific aspects of attendance practice and having schools and trusts talk about those aspects. So if you're interested in those, we'll be advertising them through the usual channels. So thanks very much for joining, and we'll hopefully see you again on the 12th of May. Thank you.